That's what it means.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Hi.
Yep.
I am not hearing anything on my end.
You don't hear us?
Oh, there's some extra agendas there, I think.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Let's try that now. Can you hear me now?
We can always hear you.
Okay.
No, she's doing that.
You want to grab an agenda?
Okay. I can hear now. And we good to go on quorum?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, then I'd like to call to order the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study. It is Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. And we will do quick introductions so we all know who is in the room. So I'm Kathy Clark, Chair, and I am Keizer. And who's on for Salem?
Trevor Phillips, Salem.
Marion County.
Danielle, no, this is Colin Willis. I look like
Hi,
Danielle.
Hi, Colin. Polk County.
Lyle Morhurst, everyone.
And Salem-Keizer Schools.
Maria Hinojos Pressy.
Hi, Maria. Transit. Not here yet.
No transit.
Okay, and ODOT.
Anna Henson.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
And then that's, so we've got all but one present and accounted for.
And Turner.
Turner's here.
Turner.
Oh, Turner.
Yep.
Turner is
Sorry.
here. Yes, Turner is here.
All right.
Turner.
Or Turner.
Don't let him annoy you like that.
Sorry, Mayor. Okay. Approval of minutes for the policy committee from September 27th, 2022. Were there any additions, corrections to be made? Motion to approve as presented.
I'll move. Lyle.
Steve Horning, second.
Moved by Lyle, seconded by Steve. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Public comment. This time is provided for members of the public to address the policy committee. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the policy committee at this time? Raise hand, just speak up. Going once. Going twice. I see Sadie's on for transit. Hi, Sadie.
I think she's still
Okay.
connected.
Okay. Means we have 100% attendance. Fantastic. All right, let's go on then to item D, which is the SKATS fiscal year 21-24 tip amendment. Karen.
Okay, so I need to share my screen here. Second. Okay, this is something you saw last month. As you recall, the city of Salem is experiencing a little bit of cost overrun on their pedestrian safety improved crossing project. It was originally 5 locations, and they in order to meet the cost estimate proposed to reduce it by 2, take 2 of the crossings out. One of the crossings on Lancaster, the north crossing there, and then one of the 2 crossings on State Street in the vicinity of 19th and 21st. We you last month, okay, do we add funds or do we reduce the scope based on the need for other projects to have additional funds? You directed me to process the amendment with reducing the scope because we have not yet adopted ODOT's decision matrix for amendments. This is considered a full amendment for us, and besides, it was one of our projects that we I wanted you to have an opportunity to weigh in on it. So did post this amendment, and I did receive 2 comments. The first comment was basically just asking for additional information on the project and wanting to know why Salem selected the projects to reduce, and I did respond with, I sent the link to the application so that they could see what the project consisted of, and if they needed to know how the projects were selected to be reduced, it would be best to contact the city of Salem. That was their decision, but it was very likely based on the usage of those locations. This morning, and just a few minutes ago, received another comment from the South Salem Association of Neighbors, SCAN, and you have to.
You think that just hit the little button on the left, that one. Yeah.
Oh, yep, so that you can actually see it. But anyway, they basically, you can read it here, but you can basically see that they think that pedestrian crossings are very important, should have a high priority, and that the city of Salem should reduce its project scopes or other value engineering or other project savings to fund these crossings, and they rather not reduce the number of crossings. So I do want to point out that Salem is not planning on disregarding these crossings. They do plan on looking for funding. They are still a high priority. Did you want to add anything on that?
No, I would, yes, will continue to be identified as high priority needs, and we will continue to look for funding. If there are cost savings on projects, we would definitely look to bring those back. It's just, as everybody has experienced, cost escalations are sort of crazy right now, and we can only do what we can do. I did reach out to both of the neighborhood associations, all of the neighborhood associations that directly affect this. And while, you know, there was some disappointment, there was an understanding.
Okay, so the action requested today is to approve this resolution, modify the scope. Are there any questions or comments?
Looks like Councilor Phillips would like to weigh in.
Yeah, thank you. So Julie, thanks for talking. I approve. I mean, I will plan to vote yes on this. I think that it was the best decision that this body could make, you know, last month. And now, you know, that we get a chance to officially vote on it, you know, it's good to hear that some community members are tracking this, and we would all like more, you know, funds available to improve our infrastructure and make pedestrian crossing, you know, safer and better. But there's just not the funds. I guess my question for Julie, and it might be more of a question that's not answerable, but did we really anticipate a likelihood of getting all 5 projects funded, or were just these the projects that we prioritized trying to get funding for?
When we originally applied for this, we fully intended, our estimates showed that we would be able to construct all 5 projects. It's just this recent cost escalation that a wrench in it, I guess you could say. So yeah, we did intend to get these funded, so it's a change.
Okay.
I will say that on the State Street crossings, we did reach out to Chariots because the two crossings, one at 19th and one at near 21st, you know, ideally we would do both, but given limited funding, Chariots strongly recommended that we go with the one near 21st because it is closer to their stops, their bus stops. And so that is the direction that we are pursuing.
Thank you, Julie, for that perspective. It helps me interfacing with my constituents, but I support the consensus of this body, and I think we're trying to do the best we can with constraints on, you know, the amount of funds available.
Thank you both. Any other questions or comments? Motion then to approve resolution 22-19 to modify the description of project key number 21879, pedestrian safety improved crossings, to remove the two crossings from the scope.
So moved. This is Steve.
I'll second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Trevor. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Item E, which is the SKATS 2023-2050 MTP, the initial project evaluation. Ray.
Okay, so in your packet, you have essentially all the projects that are being considered after the for the long-range plan after the valuation. And this is mainly just a update, a status check-in to let you know where we are in the process and what's going to be coming down the pike in the next month or so. There are 263 projects that are being considered for included in the long-range plan, in the financially constrained one. Some of the definitions for people who are looking at this on the PDF, on the evaluation sheet, you'll see that it's ranked, they're ordered by jurisdiction, and they're sorted by the weighted score after evaluation. And on the right side, you see the objectives, and these objectives correspond with the ones that we talked about in our previous meetings. So 1 through 10, with number 5 being the one that was removed by the PC. But I'm keeping it there because in the future we might have another one. So that's news. You can ignore the included, committed, illustrative definitions. Those are what they are currently in the long range plan. So in the current adopted plan, this is what the project has been identified. For the future one, we haven't got to that point yet, but most of the committed will still be committed, and some of the included will still be included, and a lot of illustratives will still be illustrative. So I have up on the slide, you know, committed are basically those projects that have funding identified, or they're in the tip already. And then I have an error on the slide. So the word identified is actually included. So included means the project funding is reasonably identified to be in the next 20 years. And so those two categories will be those projects that are in the financially constrained plan. Illustrative are those projects that do not have any funding identified for them, or outside they're not lost, they're just be in the plan, or we have to amend it into the plan with funding identified. You can also see that on the sheets, you know, it gives you the project name. S and B means whether it's sidewalk or bike facilities. It has the year to be built. It has the year, the inflated expense, the project. So it has YOE, which is year of expenditure dollars. And it has a cost estimate, when the cost estimate. Numbers and years that are highlighted in red are ones that are 2019. So as we've been talking multiple months now, cost escalation causing a lot of project costs, as you saw, to be deferred. So I'm and we work with the TAC, we try to get as recent cost estimates as possible, but for those that are prior to 2019, we went through a two-step process to bring the cost estimates up. First, we inflated them to 2020, then from 2020 to 2022, they were inflated at 6% to reflect some of the higher escalation that we've seen. And then going forward, projects are inflated at 3.3% per year. That's some of the behind the scenes work that's going on. Next slide, please, Karen. So just overall, and we talked about this a little bit in previous months, the revenue estimates are up, and due to primarily the IIJ, so then the federal investment into recent Surface Transportation Act. So that gets us more money for transit and for SKATS. Plus, there is the possible Salem bond. One will be voted on in November, which is part of the reason we're not asking for any decisions yet. We need to see what happens with the vote. And then once we know that, then we can finalize the project list. And as I mentioned, project cost estimates are up on since compared to 2019. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to do for the next steps for evaluation or getting to the financially constrained project list, we have 63 projects. Next, please. We go through the criteria that the policy committee agreed to last 2 months ago or last month, whenever it was, whether they're weighted or not. From that, we come up with initial listing of projects, and we group these by jurisdiction, whether they're fundable, on the bubble or below the bubble. So fundable are, so if we go by jurisdiction, each jurisdiction has a set amount of money that we've identified in their revenue on. And based on scoring, we say these are the ones that are likely to be funded. And then there are a number that have the same score, you'll see, and then those get on the bubble. Then the TAC goes and gets this list that you've seen and reflects more what the priorities are. So some projects that score poorly are actually going to be built because developers are more. They're very important for parts of the process, parts of the next slide, please. Just to give you a quick example, and this is all in Appendix C in the long-range plan. So the process isn't changing between the 2019 version and this update. So it's hypothetically, we have a jurisdiction with 30 projects and they have $10 million available for the next 20 years. After you score the projects, some of them are ranked 7 and 8, and some of them 1 and 2. You have a number that are 5. Because so when we're doing the initial screening, we say, well, with the projects that score highest, which total $5 million, those are going to be funded. Those will be fundable. Ones that are on the bubble, that all score the same. They all score 5. How do those get into the plan or not? So part of that is the TAC goes and looks at them and says, these projects we want to make sure that they're funded out of the remaining $5 million have. Or they move some that are below the bubble up. So the ranking is used for the initial cut, and then through the process of discussion with the TAC and then the policy committee, the final list will be determined. Does that make any sort of sense? Any questions? I know it's confusing and it's a lot to process the first time. And Kathy's the only one who sat through this before. So,
So I guess I get some comments and questions.
Yeah.
One is, first comment. When we get this project evaluation, it'd be great to have the sheet attached to it showing how where the scoring and new criteria is, and then the weighted, so we can go through and kind of take a look. So we.
Wait. Got okay. You want to know
how many you got to these numbers?
Yeah, and that would. I apologize to you. So we should give you a appendix C that has here's the criteria with the score,
the new criteria, the score, and then the weighted.
Yep.
So we can figure out when you score this. So, and just reviewing this, and this is just because I've been around for a long time, but Marine Drive in the city of Salem's own traffic study, how to relieve congestion in the state, number one project was Marine Drive. Yeah, Marine Drive only scored a 9 on the weighted average. And that has pedestrian, bicycle, motor vehicle, congestion relief, and this small series that project we have designed right now for this high full project, but at the same time, understand the $3 million versus the 260 get it done and funded. But I guess that's where it comes to this weighted and scoring. When you have a study done, and it's the number one project in the study, but yet here it's very low, and that's what really concerned me about the scoring criteria and the weighted average and stuff.
There's also the freight and an EJ area and the other criteria that
benefits the EJ area.
And then that's why the TAC reviews it and says this is a priority and it moves up. Okay, so
this isn't the tax recommendation numbers?
No, this is just after this is after going through scoring all the projects. This is evaluation. Then right. The TAC is reviewing it. Then come up probably next month with a list that you guys will see that here's the ones that are recommended funding. Here's the ones that are in the bubble where they want political input on which way it goes. And then here's the ones that we're recommending being on sort of list because there's not enough.
Also on there, you have a couple that say proposed.
Those are new.
Those are new.
Those are.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sorry.
Okay, all good.
What's the score? Out of 20? Or
how much everything should be a 1 except pedestrian bicycle, and it gets a 2, I believe.
It can get a 2. It can be so all the objectives, they're 0 or 1. My score is 1. For safety, it can be a 2. Then there's weighting. So safety. This is why I need to give you appendix C.
That's what we need.
Yeah. Which is also the it's also what we last August was also has the criteria with the weight. Yeah. And if you have the TAC agendas, it's also in that. It just was not included in yours. I apologize.
Generally pretty simple math. We have these criteria. You score 1, all of them except safety, you have a 2. And then the weights are just, you multiply a weight times the score. So if a project's a safety project, and it got a score of 1, I guess, it's a safety project, that 1 turns into a 4. That weighting turns that 1 into a 4. And then you add up all weighted scores to get the total score. So the weights just kind of accentuate the scoring of whatever criteria you think are most important.
So the score is up to 9.
Yeah.
It could be 10 because somebody gets 10
because of the 2.
Okay.
And then the highest weighted score is 17. But I'd have to do the math.
Yeah, because
to figure out what the total is.
Safety isn't the only one that's weighted. We also have addressing a bottleneck.
Yeah, go back. Go back. So the weighted criteria of enhancing transit service or ops, reducing a gap in our regional system, and addressing a bottleneck. So safety gets 4, the other 3 get, I think, 3. And then the unweighted criteria are the EJ, then pavement quality, bridge,
rate. And it's basically a way to say, you know, among all the criteria, which ones do you put the most value toward? Safety, they put the most value towards, they gave it a weight of 4 as opposed to 1 for everything else. And then bottleneck is a 3, enhanced transit is a 3, reduces a gap 3. So it just, no, it just, the project provides a service to transit or it's transit. So sure. Yeah. So, you know, the South Salem Transit Center is enhancing transit because it's providing a connection point for routes to come in and increase service, or it's the signal priority. Signal priority would be for transit move through. Also, turn lanes will help transit because it gets people out of the way of the bus. So center turn lanes also enhance.
And then what's reducing a gap in our regional system?
We're seeing it. So we have regional systems defined for bike, ped, and signal interconnects. And so the system is, the project is reducing the gap. So it's making these more whole, where we have, if you have a road that doesn't have all sidewalks on it or bike lanes, and that the project comes in and puts those, that gets a point there. And then a bottleneck is defined from their congestion management process of where bottlenecks are and whether the project is addressing bottlenecks caused by speed changes or necking down of the number of lanes, some sort of capacity issue for vehicles moving through the system.
And so are these things, sounds like there's some subjective evaluation, or are these all objective? Like safety, is it like so many people have to have died in this place for it to be safety improvement, or is it just, I think it would be safer if we?
It's likely not. It's not the first. It's the does the project produce a safety benefit? So is it adding sidewalks all there to make it easier or safer for pedestrians to walk? Is it a different type of their safety project that can be used? And in Appendix C, I list down, here's the criteria, here's the objective and criteria, and here's what I'm looking for it to get a point or not. And so I'll just have Lori send out Appendix C to y'all, and then you can see what's going on.
It'd be great if we just get a 10-point thing with things with the weighted to the right of it. I mean, with the descriptions, of course, but just a short, simple sheet, one sheet. We can take a look and see the points.
Yeah. I can send you that. It's also basically on one page. It has, here's the criteria and here's the needed.
Is this scoring system driven by rule, or is it?
I'm sorry.
Is it driven by rule, or is it sort of history and knowledge of the people?
It's reflective of the plan's major goals. You know, what's our top goals for this plan? And from those top goals, we kind of develop what are the objectives and criteria. Some of these goals are based on federal statute or what the multimodal regional plan should be. Others are the priorities of the policy committee, what they put their highest priority on. So the combination of really those two.
So the policy committee. Oh.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about, I'm just not, it jumps out at me, is potentially, and I'm not sure this is a bad thing, I just want to make sure it's an intentional thing. You could basically double weight a sidewalk improvement, right? Because it reduces a gap in the regional system and improves safety. So you're giving basically 2 weighted scores to one type of thing.
And you can do that for multiple projects. Types of things as well. So you can reduce a gap and address a bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the perfect system.
Mm-hmm. But got it. No, that's helpful. I'm just trying to figure out, is this like a, yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's a working wisdom. We'll talk about this again, and you know. So I just wanted to share that screen of table, the criteria, and the weights. So here are those criteria. I guess they're reflective of the numbers. The columns here, 1 through 10, right? So first one is safety. Addresses our safety and security goals in the plan. and this shows the weight safety. That's the connection. This was from our August, I think, agenda pack. I'll send out.
I score would be 23.
You checked all the boxes.
If you checked every box,
yeah.
a total maximum score. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm saying mathematically it's 23.
So one last thing. Yeah. On this here, it would have been great if at the end of it, we had the totals of each. So how much money worth of projects is on that?
Oh, you want to dollar total. You want to jump ahead. 2 point. Yeah. So billion. That'd be. So some of that I couldn't. It depends on when it's built.
So that's the thing.
So it's about 2 billion, and your revenue is about $1 billion. That's jumping ahead where you're going to be next month.
And then break it down to the 3 criteria, the 4 criteria that you have, which is included, proposed, or illustrated.
Yeah.
And break it down so we kind of get an idea, because I'm in my office going through this and they got my personal opinion. What are you reading? And I'm going through this criteria, looking at all the projects. And you go, and our administrator, Greg Hansen, walks in and goes, how much money's in that thing? And I'm guessing 1.5, 2 billion.
Yes.
And he says, what's your income? I says, you want funding? Where's your funding? I says, it's not near that.
No.
So, yeah.
That's why we have to cut them out.
Exactly.
So, and that's something that I think it's finally nailed down, because we got all the year to be built for all the projects, so we can actually say what number will be and how much revenue is not going to operate. So you have your revenue, it's going to operations and maintenance, reservation. The remainder is going to capital projects, and there's SKATS. We ignore ODOT and Santa.
Ignored a lot.
We have no funding, reality.
But you want to mention on the year?
No, still want that dollar.
Oh, yes.
No.
And Julie wants to make sure that I got this caveat out in public view, so it's recorded on YouTube. That the year to be built is only a current estimate.
Yes.
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 Will be a professional opinion of when the project may be built, given the current situation, et cetera, et cetera. So
looking forward to 2050.
So, and especially,
is very
yeah, and so that's why we do this at a very grand level, a large level. So we don't try to get too detailed with how much money jurisdictions will definitely get for SKATS funding. It's more, we go through the local jurisdictions, have their revenue. We say you use all that on projects. Then we backfill, as it were, with SKATS money up to a point, and then we call it good and wait 4 more years. And there's a whole finance chapter, which I can't remember, has this committee seen it? Okay. Which goes through the whole thing. Here are the revenues, each sources, here's the total, which is the total fee. And then here's the cost, which is 2 billion-ish. And then it kind of talks about financial constraint, how we can't afford all those projects. So some will be included in the plan, and others will be illustrative, meaning they are needs on the system. We just don't see them being funded in the 20 years. Now things will change 10 years from now. And then part of that is also to allow policymakers to understand the nature of what's coming up. So if there are other funding streams, grants, opportunities for individual levies. Salem is a good example. Polk County also does bond measures for O&M occasionally. So, these are there mainly to say, here's the need, identified need, and what it's currently costing, and it's not going to get cheaper as we go forward. So what is the priorities?
Okay, so these current numbers, were they scored? They were scored by TAC?
They're not scored by the TAC.
No, they're scored by me. It's one. Yeah, it's too much for a whole committee to score 2 plus projects.
And
it's enough for me to do it. Yeah. what we want from them after they're initially scored like this is to say, what did we miss? Did we miss score something, for example? Or is there something that's scored low, but for whatever reason you think it should be a higher priority and should be included in the plan regardless of its initial score? So that's where this, it's not just a formula. We crunched numbers and we crank the handle and that's the answer. Here's our initial projects, and then your staff help us figure out what should be in the final list, and then you also help us figure out what should be in the final list. So that's the final list that goes out to the public.
So I see a question from Maria, and then like to go ahead and wrap up. There's been some really good conversation and questions about how we get to where we're at, and I would encourage each of us look at our list from our jurisdictions as Lyle has done, to make sure that the projects that you need on there are on there, and then also talk to your TAC representative. Maria?
Thank you, Chair Clark. Yeah, in terms of being able to like review the list, I was wondering if there was somewhere that this was like, or that I could get like a spreadsheet, so that way I could like sort this, because I kind of can't make heads or tails of it when I'm like going through it, because it's not like sorted by like weighting or like amount of money or like alphabetical order. So it just kind of like is just a jumble of numbers and information. So just kind of like for my sake to be able to process this a little bit better.
And so I'll be sending out to the TAC next week a spreadsheet with all the projects, the scores and whatnot, so they can order it. But I can also send to you guys a similar spreadsheet for your review. And that will allow
and we all get the TAC packets.
Yeah, this will be a spreadsheet. This will be an email.
I don't think the policy committee gets the TAC packets.
I do.
Yeah.
I get them.
Yeah, I got Dan for a while. And
There's nothing to everybody.
No.
I don't get the TAC packet.
We can fix that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anybody else not getting it, please let Lori know so she can add you on.
Can we say randomly send out the spreadsheet to all members? We'll just this spreadsheet, we'll just send it to all so you could look at it, sort it, color it.
It's already pretty colored right now, but we'll send you a cleaner version. So
in any certain order? Is there a reason they're in the order they are, or are they just?
Yeah, on which the table bed? Yeah. Actually, this is sorted by score by jurisdiction.
By jurisdiction.
Yes.
Easier for you to.
So it's broken down by jurisdiction. Salem's one that has their break at the wrong place, but thank you, Microsoft.
Right.
And then it's the score and the weighted score are very similar by score.
Right. So each jurisdiction has the projects that they have prioritized and that are either we've had on our list before or our TAC member is bringing. So there we go. Trevor, Councilor Phillips.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this isn't so much a question as a comment. I mean, I'm not sure if I get the digital report or the physical report, but I would like to get both in the future. Really, though, I've heard staff talk about the fact that we don't know what future state looks like because we don't know what the exact funding will be. And I've heard one of my colleagues on this body reference the Marine Drive in West Salem. So I would be remiss right now if I didn't, in my individual capacity, just remind people that there's an election coming. Ballots are due in 2 weeks, and that if everybody could take the time to learn about the Salem bond, it's 24,474. Those residents of Salem that get to vote have an opportunity to approve, $300 million over 10 years to critical infrastructure, including Marine Drive, without raising property tax rates. So just in my individual capacity, I would encourage everybody to learn about it and to vote.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Well, I have a question. Some of these got zeros. 0. So it's a project that doesn't have any impact on anything ever.
It has impact, but not captured by the objective. So there are a lot of like interconnects at zeros because the way that the objectives for the criteria were written, they're very important. They help traffic flow, but they're not captured. So that's why there's some limitations. And that's why the TAC reviews it and you guys will review it because there are certain ones that have a 0 that are.
One might disagree.
Yeah. So it's just happens to be how it's working. But you're right. I wrote the criteria before I scored anything, and then you feed the scores and like, okay, tweak it, but then I have to go back through, and I've never got around to it.
Oh, I got it.
Okay. And it's good that we have all these projects identified. It's a requirement that we have to be financially constrained. So artificial thing that says you have to choose which ones you think will be funded in the next 25 years. The thing is, they're all in there. This is the process to kind of pick which ones are highest priority. I always figure that will change when your staff come to us and say, we want to fund X. And if it's in the funding category, it's no problem. But if it's illustrative or even not in the plan, the amendments to the plan. So I wouldn't put too much worry about where it falls. It's good that things are in the plan to start.
And that makes you able to go get funding. Maria, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, to Colm's point, I was also wondering of just kind of like how this played out, because, for example, on the page 14 of this, on like Hillficker Lane, southeast of Commercial Street, southeast, it has both the little check marks for sidewalk and bicycle infrastructure, and then it's still weighted 0 and 0. So I was just wondering like how like the criteria fell out, because like, I mean, theoretically, I mean, I don't have like the actual project in front of me, but I would assume that it would fit some sort of criteria since it's got sidewalk and bicycle checked off.
Yep, I think that's the intersection project that's really in the tip.
Yeah, it's in design right now, and it does include adding a left turn lane. I would assume it would have gotten something in safety, but the bicycle pedestrian facility is adding some bicycle facilities, but some are also there already. So yeah, it's not a perfect system. We can't hang our hat on the system.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check on that, because there's also like some other ones like in Marion County where it was just like pedestrian treatments and like sidewalk treatments that also just like didn't seem to get that weighting. But thank you.
It's going to us.
Yes. Okay, and Steve, you had a question, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question as far as how something large would get on this list. And so I assume that the priority would change on something like that. And I'm specifically thinking of right above the Mill Creek Industrial Park on Turner Road, the state correctional building facilities, they put that up for auction. And we just got word that it's going to be a 600 unit development tied right above the in Mill Creek Industrial Park. And so I look at a list like this where you're going out till I'm dead or way past retirement. And so this is going to be a giant project. How does that get into this list? Because it's going to take a lot of money. And it's just in the conversation stages right now. So where does that fit to say, Turner Road and Mill Creek Industrial Park is going to have a big subdivision?
Well, the short answer is we update this plan every 4 years. So I'm sure, first of all, it'll take the local staff to figure out what the improvement needs may be, right? And then figure out who's responsible for paying for it. And I assume Turner Road's on our regional system, so it would be something to have in the plan. So I think the next time the plan comes up, if it's not already built by then, because it's an exaction or a requirement of the development, if it's a need for 3 years from now when we're developing the plan, we will put it in the plan.
And just so you know, there are already projects in the plan for those sections of Turner Road. I see on page 12 there is S359, And then on lower on that page, there's S557. And then the following page is S358.
So
Yeah, I saw some of those Turner Road things there, but this is the state put this up for auction just recently, so that would be a total, it feels like a totally brand new project. So
yeah. So as Mike said, the state, we can also amend if something comes along that we need to amend into the plan, we can do that before 4 years is up. So it really depends on what the project is and what scale and if funding is actually available for.
No, and I don't expect a specific answer or something like that. I see something like that, and it's hot off the press today, and how that would fit into this particular mold, because you're looking at projects out of 2050 and things like that, and so.
Yeah. Now, if they would use federal funds, we'd have to figure out a way to put it in the plan. If it's just locally funded, we wouldn't have to worry.
Thank you.
Or the private developer as well. The traffic impact analysis that will be done as part of that project will also inform both the city of Turner and Marion County,
right.
Back the developer on the requirements for that particular project. That's a great question, Steve, because we're all facing that now with new projects that are coming online. Okay, my internet's going in and out. Anything else to wrap up before we go on to item F?
You have more on your presentation.
I think you guys have asked us pertinent questions that we can skip the last.
Thank you, Ray.
You fired him out.
Chair, can I just say something before I forget? I'll have Lori send an email to all of you so we're clear on who wants to receive a printed copy of our policy committee, electronic copy of our policy committee, and the same for the TAC. Who wants to receive electronic ones? Because I think over the years, some members would say, "Oh yeah, I want to see the TAC agenda too," and so Lori has put them on the list. So we have an inconsistent who gets what. So let's update that and go from there.
And to add on to that, I would encourage all of you who have alternates to make sure that your alternate either lets you know about what they want to receive and in what format as well, so we can get them to those folks as well. And I will also remind all of you who have alternates that in January, after elections, I know I'm going to be making a change in mine just based on turnover on council. So keep that in mind as well. Keep them in the loop. Okay, anything else?
No. See the head shaking.
Nope. Okay.
All Karen.
Okay. Are you still there, Kathy?
Yeah, internet's kind of going. So
no.
I'm
hitting. I
it
noticed
right
you
now.
have frozen on your video. You might turn it off.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just wanting to bring you kind of a little update on the project cost escalations and what we're doing and what's happening in the world. Maybe I'll start with a listing of kind of the projects that we know of right now that are going to need extra money. The Gilchrist Street at 22nd Street realignment is getting ready to go to bid. And so they have done their final estimate and they're going to need like another $4.4 million. So $4 million of it federal in order to have the money on hand to meet the cost estimate. Kind of waiting to see if the bond passes before we want to actually do something about this. But you'll likely will see this coming up. We've had a bid opening last week on the Hollywood Drive project. This is a project that Marion County did know was didn't have enough funds because as they did the estimate, they had to add some local funds trying to cover that cost to allow it to go to bid with to see what would happen when bid opening happened. Fortunately, a little bit of good news is that the bids came in relatively close to the cost estimate. That's saying is they still need money to cover the cost estimate increase, but at least it's not seeming to go up and up and up again. We don't know exactly how much that is. They're still looking at the numbers because it's brand new bid packet, but it could be between $400,000 or $500,000 maybe for that project. Lancaster bid opening is Thursday, so they will, again, they had put in additional funds to cover the increase of the cost estimate beyond what was originally programmed on that project. There is a little bit of good news though. We exceeded our obligation targets for 21 and 22. And remember, if we did that, we get to share in the redistribution funds. So this is one of those things that the redistribution funds were more than we expected. So in 2021, our share was 685,000. In 22, 1.6 million. So ODOT does such a great job of obligating all the funds throughout the years that they went and said, okay, we can use this much in redistribution funds, and they asked for their normal amount. And the feds came back and said, you need more than that? We got more. So they asked for more. That's why our share is 1.6 million. So we have $2.3 million than more than we thought we had. So based on how well we're delivering projects. So that's a little bit of good news. Still not enough to cover.
That one estimate's called 4 million.
So well.
It is. So what else we were talking about doing? Yeah, I see that. Way to go. So we have, as Rhea would call, when we were actually coming up with which projects to fund, and we realized this was going to be a huge problem, we left $7 million unprogrammed in the 25, 26, 27 years. I did talk to ODOT, and they're going to allow us to borrow some of those funds from our future years to pay current cost overruns. That uses advanced construction way of doing it. And this will actually help ODOT spend those redistribution funds. So we're all happy about that. If we still need more money, we've got a project that is programmed in 2027, State Street project, that if we slipped it one more year into the illustrative years, that would free up another $6.25 million. Hopefully we need that, but that is kind of what we're looking at. And then of course we have the potential for redistribution funds in the future. Can't spend those ahead of time though. So those would be at least. So I'm going to stop my sharing here. So what we're planning on doing is meeting with the TAC this month to kind of talk about what process do we want to go through. You know, is it going to be you need money, you ask for money, you'll give you money? Is it first come, first serve? Is it some sort of equity? Do we want to have a little bit more skin in the game? You know, we'll provide X amount and locals come up with more than the minimum match. You know, so I know Mike had some thoughts on, you know, what you could do, but we're planning on talking to the TAC to at least come up with a process, and then we'll bring that to you.
Fortunately, we've been down this road a bit several times with your staff, where projects have come in and everyone's trying to help each other, but as fairly as possible. It means sacrificing, you know, because someone has to either come up with more money locally if they have it, or they have to say, look, I'm not going to do my project that I had scheduled in 26 or something. You know, let's push that off. So it's a lot of discussions, a lot of trying to make sure it's fair, asking locals look, what money can you squeeze out? Do you have any money? Let's say Marion County, for example, they have money they spend in SKATS, but of course they have also federal and state taxes they spend elsewhere in the county. Can they shift any money that they normally might spend out in the county to one of their projects in SKATS? I don't know the answer to that. That's their own local decision. Maybe they can do something. So it's a conversation we're going to have with them. It's, as Karen said, it might be good borrowing from the future a little bit. There are other choices. There is a state infrastructure bank. I don't know if any of our locals have ever tapped into it, but it's a state infrastructure bank that you can borrow money from the state at a certain interest rate to pay costs now for ones you will, pay back later. That might be part of it. We want to see how the bond measure, whether that gets approved by the voters or not. So the timing of this is a little tricky. Do you want to talk timing or do you want to wait?
What's the gap? Can you give us the bottom line?
The bottom line?
Like you mentioned some projects, you mentioned we got $2 million and said it's not enough. Like how much are we short on each project?
We don't know that. That's the problem. We don't know that. So in the next 2 years, in 23 and 24, we have $33 million worth of construction projects funded with SKATS funds coming down. Of those projects, I am not sure which ones will actually need more money. So what we did in the last tip cycle is we said, okay, any projects that are in 24 and beyond, update their estimates based on, whatever, ask for more money for those projects, which they did. That's when we realized there was a problem and why there's no new projects. So the future projects, some of those projects, we've already added money to, so they shouldn't be as in bad a shape as these ones that are coming to bid right now. I would anticipate City of Kaiser, your Berta project will likely need more money. That's just one. They didn't, we didn't add money to that project and it's a 23-24 project. There's 1 or 2 more of the other projects that are likely to need more money. I don't know how much. So we're just trying to guess. Right now, we probably need $4 million for McGilchrist and maybe another $1.5 million for the 2 projects that have gone to bid now. There's probably at least double that.
Which ones are those 2?
I
know
Hollywood and Center. And your staff is working on it as we speak, trying to come up with that.
The only reason I bring it up is
Lancaster. Yes, yeah. Sorry, Lancaster.
So the Hollywood one just bids came in, and it needs more money. The Lancaster reconstruction, that bid comes in soon. We don't know how the bids are going to be, and that's just the short term.
Yeah. Those are the ones that you have to address immediately.
Right.
The only reason I bring it up is because I've tried to piano, and because of the way that ODOT, God bless their hearts, does their grant matching thing, right? It's like they try to spread our money as wide as possible, much ODOT money as possible. So there's not always flexibility for us to just take some money and redirect it to these projects, because that means that we'd potentially be forfeiting a 90-10 match somewhere, right? It's like it's just that's so expensive. There's so much opportunity cost there that I've run up that hill before.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's that's why I think we need to have a process, so it's not like, okay, let's just throw money at the first ones and how do you deal with it. Marion County fortunately did have a little extra money that you could put towards these projects, knowing that they would hope to be reimbursed for it. City of Salem didn't have that privilege. So for the McGilchrist project, they can't do that because we wanted to wait until bid opening to figure out how much she really needed, as opposed to add money and then, whoops, we need to add more money, or take money away or adjust it at that point. Let's wait. they didn't have the funds because they promised all the McGillcrest funds to the Raise grant match that wasn't available. So they need the money beforehand, and then we're running to that. So it's just different ways of dealing with these problems. And I think we just kind of want to come up with a kind of holistic solution of what is the process we're going to use? You know, what do we do? What do we need to know in order to make the decision?
Well, Lonnie just texted me, reminded me that if we've already started a project and we pull money from, we have to pay all the money back that we got it.
Correct.
Right? So it's even worse than just giving up money. So to a certain extent, I think this conversation should really be about future projects, right? More so than projects that are bid right now.
Well, I think
projects that are bid right now, if those,
we have to fund them.
yeah, we're kind of screwed.
Right. But
there's no like, no other option.
That's why we actually selected no new projects to fund until these projects.
Yeah.
So that is why let's make projects whole. Let's complete the existing projects we have. Then we'll worry about future projects.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't know if we have enough money to cover the projects we have. So that's what
we already made some delay projects like Delaney Bridge. I think we delayed it.
Yeah, the Delaney Bridge project got delayed in order to fund these projects.
We want to get started and have to repay it, as you say. But I think Councilor Phillips has a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Clark. So, I mean, I probably am asking the similar question in a similar way, but just to kind of understand this on a more granular level as a newer member, in terms of McGillcrest, I mean, I know it's moved around because we were going to have it in the bond, but then on the 7th try, the city of Salem was successful in getting federal funds. And my understanding is we've been approved for over 13 million to do McGillcrest. So help me understand the 4 million of increased costs. Is that distinct from the 13 plus million we got federally?
It is. So SKATS has funded various pieces of that McGillcrest. We funded the right-of-way piece of the entire corridor. And then we funded one little piece in the middle, the 22nd Street realignment. That's this particular project we're talking about. It's the McGillcrest 22nd piece realignment. The Raise grant is for the remaining pieces of McGillcrest. So we basically have told the Raise grant, we are committed to this project. We have funded X amount of it, including this 22nd Avenue realignment piece, to the point where that's really kind of a match to that grant. It was one of the reasons it showed that we have committed to this.
Okay. And
my project.
That's very helpful for me. And then my follow-up question is, and I think I might know the answer based on what you've already said, but I want to verify, is either the original McGillcrest, the length of McGillcrest that we got federal funds for currently, that we had talked about putting in the capital improvement bond as the city of Salem, is it still, can we use Salem bond funds to meet any of the gaps for this 22nd Street alignment, or for anything that the federal, funds don't, complete in terms of the McGillcrest in general?
Yes, if the bond passes, the funds that were included to complete, McGillcrest could be used to help fill this gap potentially. It would also be important for cash flow because the Raise grant is all reimbursement. And so if we need a source to pay for work so we can get reimbursed. So hopefully the bond will pass and we will be able to, use it for some overruns, use it for the cash flow, and then release the remainder back into the bond to be allocated to other important projects in the community. So that project was not removed from the bond list. It's still there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on this update? And I'm sure we're going to hear more, especially after the election. And see if I can do this. There we go.
Um,
After the election, and then, yes.
So this will be obviously a very important topic in November.
Right.
Back in November. When's the election day?
November 8th.
Our meeting with the TAC is
November 8th.
November 8th.
So we will not know the results.
We won't know the results. So we might still be in like, if it passes, we do this, if it passes, do that. But I bring it up because if we have an update for you next month, we will, you know, at our normal November meeting. If not, we may have to have a December meeting. So for you to make some amendment to the tip, if one is important to do, either for the projects, the 2 Marion County projects, or for the one that needs to go to bid on McGillcrest. So normally our our meeting would be the 4th Tuesday of December, which is the 27th.
Which is not the
It's my birthday. So I think if we have a meeting in December, it's going to have to not be that 27th. So we might, bottom line is we might schedule a special meeting in December just to cover this so we can make amendments in a timely manner for all those projects that we talked about. So a little heads up about that.
And I think to get it onto our calendars, it's easier to put it on than take it off. Would you consider having Lori do a doodle for potential dates prior to the holidays? Because I agree with you about December 27th. That's also my son's birthday. But look at that week before the 20th, or maybe some other dates around that, and see if that will work with a quorum.
Okay, we will send out a doodle poll and see which.
Yeah.
Which best.
Let's get it on now, because once we hit Thanksgiving, forget about it. Adding more things into your calendar is very, very difficult. Shoehorning, it doesn't even begin to describe it. Thank you. This has been very helpful. And we'll stay tuned for developing. One of the other things I want to mention too is because there's so much uncertainty that, you know, moving projects like State Street, really don't want to be involved in making wholesale changes right now. Personally, I would like to see what baby steps we can take as we get more information on individual projects, and then know where we're going to be ending up. So that would just be my personal preference, rather than throw a whole project into, you know, this in and out thing.
Oh, I would only use it. That was kind of a, you know, hey, if we continue to go down this road, that is the last, you know, there is that possibility. I wouldn't do it now, but I would do it if for some reason we needed more money later. So.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Then let's go on to item G, which is the tip modifications.
Yep, just 2 simple ones. And actually, it's interesting that first one is this McGillcrest project we're talking about. And apparently, I had called it 22nd Avenue instead of 22nd Street. And this is how picky ODOT gets. They wouldn't actually let it go to bid with that mistake in there, so I had to correct that. It had to match the PS&E documents. So at any rate, and then the Salem area rates safe routes to school program, we advanced that so we could have access to the funds a year earlier.
Sounds good. All right, other business. Then looking at the upcoming calendar. So OMPOC will be virtual on the 28th, which is this Friday. I will be on it. Mike, you're going to be on it. And Lyle, were you going to be on that call?
I'll be on it.
Sadie, you're going to be able to be on it?
Sorry, a minute, unmuting. I have to check my calendar against that time. Let me do it right now.
Okay, we'll press pause on, we'll keep going and let us know.
Sure. Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat.
All right, fab. The Oregon Transportation Commission will be meeting on November 17th. It will be available by Zoom. Our next policy meeting will be on November 22nd, 2 days before Thanksgiving. And if that is going to be, because it is a we have 5 Tuesdays in November. So we are going to keep it on, as far as I can see, we're going to keep it on the 22nd, which is great because the 29th, I've got something else. So, and then, Councilor Phillips?
Yeah, I think I know the answer, but is there an MWAC meeting on the 2nd?
No, we have no MWAC meetings planned until January.
That's what I thought. Thank you for confirming.
Just going back to OMPOC, I'm looking at the agenda. You're talking about working with rail in the morning. The 2 other major topics have to do with the 2023 legislative session. So we'll hear from the League of Oregon Cities, the Association of Oregon Counties on their priorities, and also the ODOT's legislative priorities. So if you're into legislation, that's the one to be at.
I guess I have a question, Chair Clark, if you'll allow it. Are we, as members of this body, just invited, or are we kind of supposed to attend OMPOC when available? Is it like optional, or is it really more encouraged?
Kathy, you know, looking at the agenda, most members have, most MPOs have 2 members attending. Okay. They select 2 members to attend. Now, if someone else wants to attend, they don't say, you know, no, you can't. But just to keep it manageable, they usually have 2. And there's no voting necessarily, except I think we rotate the chair. Well, that's really not even a vote as well. So
my schedule's maxed out. So thank you for assuaging my guilt. I appreciate that. And giving me perspective.
Thank you, Kathy, and Lyle and Sadie for attending in your stead.
I trust my colleagues. Thank you all.
Sadie.
And, yeah. What's the best place to find the link for an OMPOC meeting? It's not on the COG calendar, so I'm just looking for I'll be remote at a conference in Pendleton, but I'll try to attend as much as I can.
It will be sent out by the OMPOC staff.
I got my agenda sent out recently. It was sent out last Friday. And okay, well, I'll just send it to the 3 of you. You get it twice, who cares? But.
Yep.
Okay. I think I do have it. Here we go. Sorry. I just didn't know what name to Google. Thank you.
All right.
Perfect. Okay. Next TAC meeting, as we heard, is going to be on November 8th. And so they will still have a lot of question marks. So they're going to have to meet in December as well, it sounds like. Unless they decide to reschedule for after the 8th, but it doesn't sound like that is on the planning horizon. Just throwing it out there.
They will probably meet in December. They don't have a choice.
Okay.
We need them to review things for plans. So that's what Ray says.
There we go. Okay, and then just looking at our planning projects, where they're all at. Thank you for that update, since we do have these major projects, planning projects that are underway, just to make sure that we know where they're at. So thank you for that. One of the ones that I'm very excited about is the Brook Lake Interchange Area Management Plan. Been very excited about this for a very long time. And once the sucker is adopted, that's when I go to work with many team members to get funding queued up. That is, talk about a safety project. The Cherry's Long Range Plan, that is so exciting. And Sadie, is there like a Reader's Digest version or an executive summary that might be sent out to the SKATS members? I know I would love to see it.
That's a great question. I'll put it in an email and see what I can find out for us.
Fabulous.
We'll be getting a presentation next month. So you'll hear about it next month. So you'll be getting a presentation from Chariots.
Fabulous. Really appreciate that. And the board member from Kaiser has been sharing on my local program about the progress of that long-range planning, and it's been really good to hear, and very excited to be a partner with. Okay, Gordon Kubler, our MTP, and the Oregon Travel Study. So lots coming up. Any questions on any of those real quick? Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Kathy, I've got something. Highway 22 and 51 is getting ready to come to a virtual open house. Do we have a date yet? No. It was scheduled for the 8th, but that is the election night.
Well, that's the live version, but the online open house will go live before that. So no, I don't think we have a set date. Mid-November.
Mid-November.
For that.
Would you like us to add that to that list?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd probably be good. But maybe wait till we get some dates, specific dates, obviously, because we're gonna do the online open house will be like ongoing, and then we're gonna have a live version one night, and it was scheduled on November 8th. Commissioner Motorhorse is like that.
And maybe add that to our planning projects, because that is one that we definitely want to keep front and center. It's not just, and that's not just 2251, but it's that corridor from Dokes Ferry to 51. That is a key safety, you name it, corridor. Mike.
I think that was my name. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, we did hire a Safe Routes to School coordinator, a new coordinator. Our former coordinator, McRae Carmichael, was promoted to community development director. So after doing the recruitment, we have a new Safe Routes to School coordinator. Her name is Beth Schmidt. She was a substitute teacher here in the Salem-Keizer School District during her last job. She started last week and is already at several schools. One school last week, a school this week, teaching pedestrian safety classes to kindergarten through 5th graders and having a blast. And so are the kids having a blast. So it's going really well, and I'm glad to have her on board. And I think we are doing about 10 schools this fall. We had a sign up for schools to the principals. 10 schools signed up for these classes. They show up once a week to teach, and going well. So I thought you'd want to hear about that update.
So yeah, that's absolutely fabulous. And if you've got like a press release or just an announcement with that and how to contact her and what's happening, I know that I would love to get that to my traffic safety bike ped committee, and City of Salem and the counties may also have, there we go. Does that help? Have committees that would like to hear more about Safe Routes to School and this re-energizing of that program with hiring, is it Beth or Beth?
Beth, B-E-T-H.
B-T-H, okay. That would be fabulous to get that out there. And then if there's something on Facebook, I'm looking at Kim, or other media that we can share, if you would send us those links so we can ping out.
Yeah, we'll want to get her and Jenna Berman to, because Jenna might be a good resource for her if she doesn't know her already. I would think. Okay.
Fabulous. Okay, anything else for today? Well, thank you all very much. The time is 1:20 and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.